So, I know I'm like really late to this, but I just really wanted to make a video about stuff like this and give it a funny little spin with the editing and I just don't care if something's old or not. So, suck my nuts. What do you think of when you hear the words anime and gacha? Do you think of good times, times of merry joy, when you're seeing a double rainbow that's raining out cash? Do you think of cum-filled sessions where you enjoy a good spanking session with your meat as you beat it like Michael Jackson beats his hand? I mean, that's the hand he beats off with, right? Or do you think of deep, dark, depressing thoughts of your bank account failing as you funnel money into your crippling anime addiction? Well, for me, and mostly me, I think of only one thing. I think of the scene from Blade Runner, where Roy Batty proves his own humanity exists as he slowly dies the most dignified death any man has ever seen. But when it comes to not only the Genshin community, but many other gacha game communities, I don't think of them as Roy Batty. I think of them as the monsters that deny entities like Roy Batty their basic humanity. Because these people are no longer human. And they probably haven't been for a long time. Hell, maybe they never were. A man whom I don't always agree with, known as Tectone, 28 according to him, 69 years old according to the communities, is Roy Batty in this situation. Mind you, I don't think he'd die anywhere near as dignified as Roy Batty, but you get the idea. Because apparently the Genshin community, and more than likely other gacha game communities, think they have any right to murder or imply murder to someone over their beliefs in gacha games.
Bruh, look at this dude.
Now normally I wouldn't fucking care, because I've seen jokes, jokes I find either funny or absurdist kind of funny, made over a joke that implies murder or whatever. Gokunaru did one with H3H3, but it was clearly set up as a joke skit. But originally, a guy on TikTok got over 60,000 likes on a TikTok video, or views, I don't fucking know, where it implied, through some septic-laced barf-inducing song, that they wanted to kill Tectone. And there was a lot of comments saying this shit. It wasn't until Hirohei made a video that it got enough attention to actually get it deleted. The original poster of it said something along the lines of, "Oh, it was all in good fun, chap. It was just a prank, bro. It's joke." But I've seen a lot of the internet, long enough to see that when people get caught with their brown-stained pants down, they'll pretend that they're just trolling, but in reality they're just deranged animals wearing human skin. Wastes of their father's spunk that was used to create these amorphous homunculi known as Genshin stands, or Honkai stands, or gacha stands, what have you. So today, let's go over two events that come to my mind. Two events that were brought back to my mind due to Tectone's recent situation. And I'll provide some closing thoughts as to how this all could have been avoided at the end if it was noticed early in life. That they'd end up being such genuinely subhuman scum that they think their taste in fictional characters and stories is somehow a way of life that all must bow to, like some kind of, blue-haired gas station discount Sith Lord. You ever had cheap gas station sushi? Well, you guys are that cheap sushi. So to preface the first section, let's go back in time. Hop in the DeLorean, strap in, because, we're gonna go 88 miles an hour? Son of a bitch. I'm gonna start, you fucking little shit! God damn it! Fuck, I hate this fucking car.
Why are you gay?
This was a year where everyone was losing their mind over stuff. Mainly ideologically driven political nutjobs who warred with each other like a bunch of screaming monkeys over the lack of vagina in a political office. It was the year of Orange Man Bad. But somewhere in China during this year, something else happened not too long before. A game was released to the Chinese public that would eventually be released to the rest of this septic tank we call planet Earth. A game that had a humble origin as a Yuri bait waifu Coomer game targeted at a majority male Chinese audience. A game that could brighten people's day with cute anime girls, and features that are now removed in all but the SEA version that include touching of said girls, but also worsen people's day with oh so sad stories to tell. This game would be given the title Honkai Impact, or as I like to call it alongside Genshin, Coomer Impact. As the years go by, Honkai develops a decent but mostly quiet fanbase, filled to the brim with waifu lovers abroad, and people who just like good stories. And a lot of memes.
Come, tummy, forward, cummy, 20, chug,
and the smell of tuna everywhere. But as time goes by, something happens. More and more people begin to fill the ranks that never came in with the same interest in mind. Rather, people from a place called Twitter began to invade the game's communities, disguised as normal fans, and they began to invade until a sizable portion of the community was made up of them. Now let's move forward in time a little bit. The year is now 2021, somewhere around October or November, and we come to see our jolly giant Tectone is preparing to play said game. Now, the Twitter stan type of people I mentioned made a few waves, but so did non-Twitter stans who just don't seem to like Tectone. They began to voice some very angry opinions. Some opinions that I can find passable, gatekeeping is a necessary thing to a degree, as we'll see with the Twitter stans I mentioned before. But then Techtone dropped a tweet that was the equivalent of if Mihoyo was Hiroshima and the community burned over it. A tweet so vile that the contents of such an opinion will earn you a one-way trip to hell on the Pineapple Express. Not on it like a train, no, but on it like a dildo. What were the contents of said tweet?
This is cancer. Actually sew your mouth with a needle and thread. Thanks, you're so gross. Honkai players are blind. They sexualize every character with trail.
You should kill yourself now.
Cannot respect anyone who calls women waifus. Literally, how are you not embarrassed? Actually sew your mouth with a needle and thread. Thanks, you're so gross. The name of the person is literally Zhongli's personal hugger.
Hey, you're a queer, aren't you?
And that was it. That was the moment that the Twitter stans waited for. The moment of their attack, coming out from the woodworks, revealing their true colors as they rip off their masks of sanity. They began to dehumanize Techtone. Why, you might ask? It isn't because he thinks that Honkai waifus beat Genshin waifus. No, that may have been a small portion of them, but most of them were anally devastated over the idea that lesbians could be called waifus. And that's where I'm going to stop this section in terms of fucking history and shit. And, I'm just going to give my own thoughts on this part. In the realm of Twitter, people like to pretend that reality and fiction are blended together. They're like the world's perfect smoothie. As if reality and their own brains did the fusion dance with a stick perpetually shoved up their ass pipes. But the honest truth is, Honkai is just a fucking game, and these are fictional characters. But the real truth bomb is not the tried and true "it's fiction bro" argument. The real truth is that Honkai started as a gacha game, and so did their game before it, Gun Girl Z, aka Honkai Gakuen. In the baby batter-filled realm of gacha, waifus are the bread and butter, and that means that the typical straight male fantasy is also their bread and butter. Gacha games of the anime variety are usually specifically aimed at pleasing the ones most likely to shovel out money for loads and loads of merchandise and JPEGs of your favorite fictional spunk dumps. Otakus are the key to the gacha game company's bank accounts, and they'll be the ones most likely to be invested in anime moe waifu Coomer games, as being an otaku of that variety has a very overwhelmingly large male factor to it. This means the ones most likely to spend a dump truck of cash on these games are men who like girls. There are some women, but it's mostly men, and many times, if not always, the companies themselves are run by otakus. Greedy otakus, yes, but otakus nonetheless. And they wouldn't really have it any other way if we're talking gacha. They seem to like it this way. Self-inserts up the wazoo, dates with your waifus and without the pain of having to wine and dine a real woman, most of the time at least. I don't think Genshin has you pay Mora directly to hang out with Barbara, but it's really all about earning more Kum coins from otakus. And something interesting to note is Mihoyo's, now currently Hoyoverse's, slogan. Their original slogan, which I'm sure you can still find somewhere, which reads as follows: Tech otakus save the world. Yes, you heard it right. Tech otakus save the world. From day one, Mihoyo were otakus. They were gamers. They chugged the G Fuel like no other. They fully intended this to be a gacha Coomer game for their target male audience, an audience that they themselves would more than likely consider themselves a part of. So it honestly baffles me how people think that Honkai Impact is them attempting some kind of genuine representation for the, the LGBTQ plus NBA plus AOT plus whatever bug pronouns that TikTok has going on.
Bug just dyed Bug's hair and it's a super cool green color right now.
You're a fucking idiot.
Gacha games like this were originally designed with a touch feature, a feature where depending on the affection rating of a Valkyrie, you could elicit different responses, each heart you earn giving a more lewd and flirtatious response. Even the supposed most lesbian of lesbians that the community points to were included in this. White Comet Kiana?
別に館長のことがそんなに嫌いってわけじゃないし、ちゃんと命令聞いてるじゃない。何でもするなんて言ってないんだからね。
Check.
Damn, boy!
Crimson Impulse May?
Hey, don't touch me, bitch!
Check. Gyakushin Miko Sakura?
館長、桜は好きか?
Every existing Colin battle suit? Check. Please make a new Colin suit, Mihoyo.
Do it.
Jail time Bronya?
重装詐欺1級し、コアパーツに不法侵入を検知。
Check. Not as much jail time Seele? Nah. Why? Because eventually the CCP demanded they remove this feature for all but the SCA version. For all but the SCA version, the feature was removed entirely. Now some fans like to believe that, Mihoyo just wanted to remove it because that wasn't their original intention, but it was. The fact that they allowed the SCA version to keep it says so, and even to this day, when creating characters, they think of, oh, how can we accentuate her thighs? The only problem for SCA is that they're not allowed to include any touch features for any future Valkyries after HOV Kiana was released, though she shows traces of the original system in the dorm interactions, such as hopping up and down to get your attention. Even the daughter of Satan is as cute as a button.
無礼な。私の邪魔をするな。
If that button was a doomsday device. Hey, post-editing Kaiser here. So it took me fucking forever to get her to do this. This hopping motion. The only YouTube video I found that had her do this was from some guy or girl or rando on YouTube called, Sakujo. So I might have had to discipline her a bit.
Who's ready for the airplane?
So in reality, the original intention from Mihoyo was to make it a gacha Coomer game so that we could look upon it in any way we want. They wanted to make it so that you can have your cake and eat it too. Sure, the girls have their Yuri bait, and lots of implications, but due to the fact that Mihoyo basically created their own multiverse, where they take the Nasuverse approach of everything is canon, with the imaginary tree and Sia Quanta, and also created the touch feature system and having an intended majority male audience, the vibe to many humans who aren't missing their frontal lobe and has experienced any kind of gacha waifu games is full-on anime bisexual, where none of the characters will actively show a hatred of males outside of designated villains and the occasional daddy issue. But they'll never really, get into a canon relationships. Until maybe the end. So the idea that Techtone is somehow lesbian phobic towards, fictional waifu lesbians as if he's some kind of alt-right Nazi as the Twitter stands love to say is baffling. Unless you realize that these people are not human. Keep that in mind. These Twitter stands are pretty much uneducated, undisciplined, subhuman scum. The characters are not lesbian captain players exclusive. It's not some exclusive deal where lesbians get to flick their bean and only them. So the idea of fictional characters being white knighted by Twitter is a cancerous, diseased idea that has no vaccine, but it's not new, and I bet it'll keep going. And many of those comments were genuinely dehumanizing. If you've ever seen Twitter firsthand and keep up with anything related to it, you'll know that all of this isn't based on ideas of being a good human being, it's based on their political ideologies, because on Twitter, it's already decided from the get-go that everything is political. One of those things includes sexuality. Sexuality has been adopted by the political left as some diseased adopted son, if that son looked like the toxic Avenger. And when it comes to Twitter, they look at everything and anything through a political lens, and basically have a sort of rat race where they, try to constantly one-up each other on how extreme they can be in their views, while pretending that it's just common sense, bro, or common human decency, when in reality, it's just them trying to usurp communities and other things to spread their fucking ideology. To them, ideology must be caked into everything. It has to be baked in there. Baked like a fucking marijuana brownie. And this includes fiction regardless of the original intent behind the author. To them, they decide everything and anything. And anyone who disagrees, even if that person in this situation may as well be God, is putrid scum who have to bow to their whims. They have a sort of self-serving god complex that basically elevates them to a privilege reserved for the gods, while claiming to be human. So in reality, like I said, they're not really human. And now we move on to part 2.
I will divorce you so fast it'll make your head spin.
Now that we've been over the way gacha games work, in terms of waifus and their ability to generate kumbucks, let's go over another aspect of gacha games. A once-a-year moment that is supposed to be the happiest time of the year for players, new and old. A time where gifts are given out with the intent to fondle the player base's nutsack, with more finesse than this lady did when showing the grapefruit technique. A good example of this can come in the form of Dokkan Battle, a game with humble beginnings and a humble present. Still greedy, but humble in the sense that, it was really shit back then, okay? What originally started in 2015, if I recall correctly, as a Dragon Ball gacha game, became over the years one of the most generous gacha games I've ever played. Almost every anniversary I can think of not only comes with new banners for new summons, but also new free-to-play units, even ones of the highest rarity, with there being like 7 or 8 rarities in Dokkan Battle. New low-priced Dragonstone sales? Check. How about a 50 to a 77 pull banner, where you literally summon for 50 to 77 units, with the same banner having a free-to-play variant, where you complete easy missions, each having a guaranteed LR in the banner. Yeah, that exists. Look, I'm kind of hyped about that, so I wanted to rant. I mean, the most recent anniversary has a 77 unit pull banner, and you get not 1, but 3 guaranteed LRs. And apparently, according to sources, each one is guaranteed to be from a different era of LRs. So you've got like old school, middle ground, and the new shit, like, wow. Anyways, how about brand new kick-ass animations mixed and matched from different epic moments from the show that fans love? That's there. New OSTs to come with the new units? Yeah.
I want to be Monkey!
Brand new mechanics for leader skills that increase the usability of other units on different teams? You bet your ass it's there. Free-to-play events giving out dump trucks of Dragonstone on top of the top grossing rewards that increase per top grossing achievement? Oh yeah! Dokkan serves as an example of how to do anniversaries, especially when it's been going on for 7 years. With a constant flow of hype and many other events during the year, Dokkan is perhaps one of the best gacha games to play for your dollar. And while it might lack Genshin's pity system, it has its own in the form of coins. 1 for a single pull, 10 for a multi, and 400 to 500 for any old Dokkan Fest time-limited featured unit that's currently being featured on a banner. Like, imagine if there were 3 5-stars on the current banner in Genshin, and you could buy 1 out of 2 from the 3 with the currency that you get from summoning. And some people probably had that expectation in mind from Genshin's anniversary. I mean, it made billions of dollars, right? Even if Dokkan can get top grossing momentarily, it's still just a moment. Hell, it had trouble with fucking Uma Musume. Fucking horse game. Okay, horse waifu game. And Genshin is like at the top a lot more, right? But come late September to early October 2021, And a bombshell was dropped! If Tectone was Hiroshima, this would be the Alderaan equivalent. And while I can't find a proper comparison to a Star Wars character from Part 4 for them, it was bad. The truth comes that there was never going to be a genuine anniversary. The truth comes that all they wanted was free art and promotion for a drop in the bucket. Free promotion of the likes never seen before. The demons at Mihoyo declared that day to be Pay Pig Day. The day that you bend over backwards and take more whippings from your Chinese overlords. What was supposed to be a grand, glorious day was turned into hell on earth for Genshin fans, as Mihoyo simply rehashed a prior event's rewards and offered nothing more to the general masses, as they burned in the fires of resin hell. Welkin buyers became welkin deniers. Beached whales shriveled up and became beached jellyfish, without an ounce of money to throw to the evil Dark Lords at Mihoyo. And thus the anniversary wars began. And Genshin stans decided to take it a lot farther than it ever should have gone. Now, while I and many others agree that the Genshin team behind Mihoyo were pretty scummy, you know what with their lack of interest in giving out better rewards, partially due to some CCP law that I have yet to verify, and also the attempts at censoring any online speech about the anniversary at first, which I guess shows that the Genshin team at Mihoyo really do take after the CCP, I don't agree with the aftermath of it all. Genshin stans and even casuals took to the realm of the Google Play Store, and perhaps even the Apple iStore if I recall correctly, and they left scathing 1-star reviews over it. Now, I wouldn't care if that's where it left off, but much like a scorned bitch of a wife, the Genshin community proves once again why they are the literal Patrick Bateman of any gacha community. Without a care in the world, the sociopathic Batemans of Genshin began to not only review bomb Honkai and even non-Mihoyo related games and apps, but also decided to harass the VA over things they have no control over. Kokomi, a waifu in the game, which yes, she's a waifu, eat my dick Twitter, has a voice actress, duh, and she began to get harassed over the character's kit, which, let's be honest, fucking sucked at the time, okay? But she's still bae. But according to sources, she began to get death threats over something she had no control over, and then another problem arose from the depths of Genshin stan's smelly gorilla pits. Kokomi haters began to send death threats to Kokomi wanters as well, according to one Reddit post I found. It's a little shaky on the evidence, but okay, I'll run with it. I can believe it. Once again, Genshin stans prove they don't deserve human rights, because they aren't even human to begin with. You see, the moment that you think for your own selfish reasons that you can threaten death to people is the moment you lose the right to be considered human.
If you don't shut your fucking mouth, I will kill you. Now listen.
I look at you no different than a fucking burglar trying to hop into my fucking house, wanting to ruin me. You are not human. You are a gigantic waste of every bit of white moldy cheese used to generate you. You ever seen those videos of those guys using eggs to make homunculi? Yeah, that's you. Not the guy making it, but you know, what he pulled out from the egg. What was supposed to be a time of weeaboo unity where you post your dead kikis or chichis or whatever she's called in the chat, became a time of turmoil. The time where you all collectively hurt Mihoyo's wallet by leaving 1-star reviews on Genshin only. But no, you just decided to hop on your high ground, staring down, claiming that you can threaten death over this, and then you decided that we all live in your reality-shifted world where fictional characters in video games are serious things, but in this case, now, you're the one who failed, and you're burning on Mustafar. Except we're both screaming the same goddamn thing to each other.
Oh, I hate you.
But now's the time. The time to look back over this and figure out where it all went wrong for these things some would call people. Part 3. I fucking hate baby boomers. You read the title. I fucking hate baby boomers. What might be humanity's most privileged of generations, besides the generation after, is the reason we have this shit going on. Their parents before them worked to the bone to make them as happy as possible, and took shit from them during their rebellious phase. But still, they wound up super entitled. The baby boomers pretty much started to get afraid of the idea that we all should never fear: disciplining your children. And this is something the baby boomers lacked in comparison. And I don't mean discipline like, oh, you can't play Genshin for 2 weeks kind of weeaboo discipline. I mean real discipline. If your child decided to make a death threat, what's your first thought? Is it to send them to their room where they can play games in secret, draw or read? Or what I do most of the time and spank my American sausage? If you're any bit sane and have any kind of spine, then no. the first thing you fucking do is take your goddamn belt and you lash the shit out of their supple, untouched dump truck asses. You give them pain, as close as you legally and morally can to do enough physical pain to resemble the weight of what they just did. You don't go too far, but you do just enough. And that's why belts are mankind's greatest invention. But that's stuff that the baby boomers lacked a lot of in comparison to their own parents. They did as many drugs as possible because they wanted to stick it to the man. They made a bunch of fucking music. But let's be honest, some of the music they made was fucking amazing. So God's still got a place for you on this earth. You're still human. But your fucking kids? Oh no. You decided to screw them out of their humanity when you decided to pamper them so much more than your own parents ever did to you. And that's where it could have been fixed. If there was any inclination to physically punish your child back then with limits instead of being labeled a bad parent for even thinking of taking away their toys, you might see these weird inhuman mole creatures called Genshin stands have a sense of humility. But it's clear they don't. Because the baby boomers sort of created an avalanche effect, where basically each generation afterwards got less and less disciplinary. As each generation goes by, more and more generations are less willing to discipline kids. This is why they aren't human, because they don't share with us the commonality of having the human experience. They have this privileged alien life experience where they're, the prince of all stands, and we're just low-class scum in front of the grand elite. They aren't human because they think it's their own right to dehumanize people over fictional maximum coomage gacha games. Because they think they have the right to treat people like subhuman cattle to be killed over the slightest transgression. And if you do your research, you'll know that it's true. In China, when Honkai had the bunny suit incident, someone actually tried to stab and murder the CEO of Mihoyo. It happened. And no matter how many Honkai fans try to justify it by saying look at it from the Chinese fans' perspective, that shit deserves the worst. And so do you for justifying it in any way. You deserve the worst too. Luckily, no one was hurt except for the freak's pride, I guess. And I doubt it was over anything else. Why would anyone go out of their way to find Mihoyo's founders and try to stab them after purchasing 2 knives? What, one for Mihoyo and one for himself? Are you gonna come up with a headcanon fanfiction where, oh, Senpai Mihoyo didn't notice me in high school, I have to kill him? Is that what you're gonna say? That dude was pissed over some bunny suit wearing waifus. You can suck my dick, Twitter. These stands are an affront to what it means to be human. And they deserve to be locked up in a fucking psych ward. And not just any psych ward, but a psych ward for fucking zoo animals. That way people can marvel at how despicable they are, and they can see them as an example of what not to do when you become an adult. If you want to white knight fake non-existent women over the way some fat balding white man wants to violently pork Chinese waifus and send them death threats, get in the fucking cage. How about if you want to send death threats to anyone over a fucking video game anniversary? You two, get your fucking ass in that cage, you fucking pig. You're all going into the pig pen. Not the lion's den with the dignity, no, but the pig pen. That's where you belong. You're no lion, you're no tiger, you're no bear, you're no wolf. You're nothing that has any dignity. You are a fucking barnyard animal pig. And that pig pen is where you belong. Hell, I'm starting to wonder if you even deserve to be fed in that pig pen. You should just starve. Oh, and by the way, Tectone, stop wasting time and sue at least one person making death threats to you. It is a small handful, but as you know, a small handful of a large enough group can pose a genuine threat, both to your life and livelihood. So nut up and send one of them a fucking legal court document or some shit. Cause and effect, you reap what you sow. It's a saying for a reason, okay?
Get what you fucking deserve!
Karma's begging you, like some fucking guy holding a bag of cheeseburgers while begging to suck you off, alright? So give it its fix. Be their daddy and spank them. It's what they want. Alright, you know what I said, they have daddy issues. Anyways, my name is Captain Traveler Suck My Cock. Twitter and TikTok can suck it. They're a hair's breadth away from being a legit terrorist. So, fading out.
Let me